This episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. Would you classify yourself as a geek, gamer, or pop culture nerd? Then this is the subscription box for you. For less than $20 a month, you get 6 to 8 items of gamer and pop culture licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. Not that long ago, and depending on where you live, not so far away, Loot Crate blasted off into a voyage across the galaxy, searching the far reaches of space to find universally awesome gear. Using December's Star Wars The Force Awakens loot as the launchpad, we landed on some equally cosmic items from Halo 5 and more. With an exclusive Funko Pop and an exclusive shirt in this month's crate, this is the loot that you're looking for. Basically, Loot Crate's like a friend who knows what you love and surprises you with an awesome present every month. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cutoff happens, that's it. It's over. So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames and enter code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. Your new subscription. Third topic of the day, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, there's a lot to talk about here, Greg.
Cloud.
Yeah, no. So, okay.
Midgar.
We
I heard
saw
the swords
a
are
new
even
trailer.
bigger because they have
There's
some
a lot of
new
nice
sword
fancy glare.
technology.
It was good. It looked.
Yeah.
It was a pretty
Hair's
sword.
on point.
Hair is definitely on point.
So on point.
So we saw a new trailer, which blew my mind because I did not expect we'd see that. Then afterwards, we get all this way more news about this game than I think we expected to get now.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, it's going to be.
Oh, did we get a
broken
release
up.
date?
No, we didn't.
Oh, that's
the one
weird.
thing we'll never get.
Oh, did we get like new? Did we get like a huge amount of new gameplay or something?
What?
Did we get like a 10-minute gameplay clip or
Oh,
something?
no.
What do we get?
It's
Must
going
be
to be
good.
broken up
Uh-huh.
into parts.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
You love parts. What are you talking about?
So what are you guys' thoughts on this, Colin? I'm sure you're thrilled.
Someone on NeoGaf said it was too good to be true. And that was like one of the first comments I saw after that. And I was like, yeah, that's a great way of putting it. The episodic thing is fucking nonsense. I don't care how they spin it. I don't care like what they say. It's fucking bullshit that they're doing that. And I don't believe in it for a minute. So I want to just say like I don't believe in what they're doing with this. I don't care what they're doing with it. There's no excuse to break this game into pieces.
You're going conscientious objector.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
The episodic. Okay.
It's not Final Fantasy. I don't even know where you begin with this. I'm not like in love with Final Fantasy VII by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a great game. I think it's an important game, but it's certainly not the best Final Fantasy game, but it is sacred in some way.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what they think they're doing. You know, like that's almost the way I feel. Like, what are you doing? Like what are you doing? It's not an action RPG and it's not an episodic role-playing game, and you're making a bunch of excuses about why you're doing this already, and it's a way for them to get the game out early and all that. Whatever.
I got some things.
Yeah, I remember that you really hate Final Fantasy VII. So.
We sat in a room where I railed on Final Fantasy VII for a very long time. So this is not coming from a Final Fantasy fan, but like you, it's the game that built the PlayStation. I understand the importance of Final Fantasy VII in people's lives. I don't mind I got excited as somebody who is not a fan of Final Fantasy VII when I saw the sort of Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy 15 combat system added in. I think that's interesting. I'm interested to see where they go with that. As far as episodic, that just makes so many things pop into my head, whether I like the episodic or not. I have logistical questions. I have logistical questions about the last 20 hours of that game when all you do is fly around on the overworld and just tie up loose ends and breed chocobos and get your villa and do all your different little things that you do. If this is episodic and the first episode is leaving Midgar, I go back to Midgar? Can I go back to Midgar anytime and finish things that I didn't do? As I unlock new parts, do they all connect somehow on my hard drive and technically and inside of my PlayStation and know that now I have the whole game and I can go back and do whatever I want? Or am I being ferried along in a linear fashion along the story points and different highlights of Final Fantasy VII? That's the scary thing. You know, if they release it episodically, but I get to go back and be free and the episodes are close enough together, my arguments are more sort of academic. But if it affects the sort of feeling of freedom and the ability to go around in the overworld and do whatever you want, that's a huge deal. That breaks the game. How does that work technically?
See, I am completely on the other side of this, and I don't think that that's a surprise. Like, if I want Final Fantasy VII as it is, this game does not ruin that game. That game is there. It is now on the PlayStation 4. You can buy it. You can enjoy it, and everything about it is great. This is a different experience. and for PlayStation 4, modern shit, all that stuff. Is it going to be more linear? Absolutely. Totally, it's going to be more linear. Is that a problem? I don't think so. It's going to be a linear experience that they're making. Like that, they're telling the story of Final Fantasy VII. The game, I think, is going to be way less about the freedom and the openness and stuff. And yeah, the people that really love Final Fantasy VII are going to be upset about that. Myself included, I get that. But it's like, give me something different. This is different. I love Kingdom Hearts. This looks like a way less floaty Kingdom Hearts, which I'm like, great. That's really cool. Looking at the battle system, it's very obvious that it's early because like there's like a summon option. It's like there's no way you can summon that early in the game. So it's like that's just there for the fucking demos and shit. So it's like I want to see where they take it all. The episodic thing, it's like there's so many reasons why that sucks. Me personally, I'm into it. I just want chunks of this over time. Does this mean we'll get this earlier? Yeah. Does it mean we'll get it soon? No. You know, I don't have these delusions that we're getting this game like this year anymore or like next year or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, I do think that we'll get it earlier than we would have, at least a taste of it. Do I think that we're going to get a demo of at least the bombing mission when you buy Final Fantasy 15? I do.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to do
That's a
that.
good bet.
And I think that that's a smart idea to like, Square's been doing this in different ways. Like how many people bought Final Fantasy Type 0 or whatever the hell it was called for the 15
I
demo?
paid $60 for that Final Fantasy 15 demo, and I'm totally fine with that.
But see, but that's the thing is like, but the people really, the people that liked it really liked it.
Yeah.
The people that weren't going to like it, they didn't like it because guess what? They weren't going to like it anyways. So it's like, I think that it's a smart thing that Square is doing. Do we agree with it? Is it, you know, what we want as gamers and, I want to spend $60 on this experience, finish the game, whatever. That's just not how things are anymore. And it's like, that sucks. But what I am thrilled about is you see that trailer and the story is there. You see the characters and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's what that character should look like.
I have no problem
I look
with
at
the
this
aesthetic.
and I'm like, I remember when Advent
Barrett
Children
should have
came
been
out.
in Oakleys from the beginning.
No, it's true. He should look
He
like
looks
Blade.
good in those Oakleys.
But like all the other
Those blue
characters,
blockers. How old is Barrett?
I was
now?
most
No,
impressed.
they're definitely ugly.
I was most impressed looking at this trailer when it started, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're not showing Tifa. They're not like,
Yeah.
there's Sephiroth's not there. Like they're literally showing the beginning of the game, and it is shot for shot remake.
Yeah.
and it looks awesome.
Somebody on YouTube cut them together
Yeah.
side by side, and it was very, very interesting to
I mean,
watch.
it's like when she kicks,
Yeah.
they kick. Like it is, and that is the thing where to me, I think the most important thing that people are glossing over is the fact that it's like, yeah, they're changing the game, but the story, the Final Fantasy VII-ness of it is still there.
The moments.
How many micropayments do you think they're going to be in the Golden Saucer?
There'll be a ton. I mean, that's the thing is like, it's a modern game, and it's like,
Yeah.
anyone that thinks otherwise, it's like, is it too good to be true? Yes. There's no way that would have happened.
Yeah.
Especially with Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts coming out. Like, the fact that this is happening is unbelievable. But it's like, it is. And the fact that we saw another trailer at PSX, it's really happening. The fact that they're talking about being split
Should we
into
be
parts,
thinking of this-
they're preparing us.
Should we be thinking of this then more in terms of like a movie, more in terms of Hollywood movies, where it's like, well, you had your Batman, and now my kid has his Batman, and we got to be okay with that. Is that all right?
No, I guess so. It's one of those. This is one of those things where I'm like, I wish you could just get rid of this announcement and never have it happen at all, because it's, you know, I was excited about it when it was announced, and just because I was like, I know how badly people want this. Final Fantasy VI is my favorite Final Fantasy game, and I know we're never really going to get probably a remake of that. Maybe we will one day.
I think we will.
But
on
like,
a Nintendo
it makes
portable.
me scared now, because I think what they did with with 1 and 2 on PSP, that was great. I mean, 3 finally getting like proper 3 on DS was a big deal. 4 was, the chibi kind of 4 look or whatever was cool, and they did it right. 4 actually was like really hard too. It was a hard. It didn't look like it was going to be a hard game, but it was way harder than the SNES version of the game, which was dumbed down. So to get 7 and to just see it kind of, it's going to be bastardized in a way, and I think I'm telling you, like, that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, man. I don't care like what they do to it aesthetically, because I think that the game, I agree with you, like beat for beat, I think that's a really exciting moment. The way Final Fantasy VII opens with the bombing and stuff is a really cool opening sequence on the train, and it's full of kind of it's like a thriller, and you don't really know anyone, and Cloud's kind of like along for the ride, and you're meeting Barrett for the first time, and it's you don't know who Sephiroth is, you don't really understand what Mako is or what they're doing to the planet and all that kind of stuff, and because there's a lot of Final Fantasy VII is an environmentalist game, which is lost on a lot of people for some reason. I'm like, it is absolutely a game about environmentalism.
it's got an environmental
lost
message
because of when you start getting into like the Advent Children, when they start doing the compilation Final Fantasy VII stuff. it changed what Final Fantasy VII was. Like Cloud is not this emo gothic hot topic kid that doesn't talk. You know, he was like this brash, cocky asshole that eventually learns that like he's not who he thinks he is and all that shit. And it's like, what I like about this is it looks like they're keeping true to that. Like his design, it's Advent Children, but it's Final Fantasy VII.
The look, I have no problem with the look.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, this looks fucking awesome. And I felt the same way about the trailer when we saw it, you know, with Cloud walking through, you know, Midgar, whatever sector they're in, and it's what I have a problem with is what the gameplay looks like, and I also have a problem with who's working on the game, you know, like. And what they're already saying about it. CyberConnect is working on this game. I told people that months ago. And there was, you know, that rumor is old. And I heard the rumor that the same people that people wrote about it. And I was telling people that. And like, that's a lot of people are like, that's not true. And I'm like, it is. Like, CyberConnect is working on the game. They're not a bad developer. They make Naruto. They worked on .hack, which was a really beloved PS2 RPG series. And they're not bad. But what I'm concerned about is there are two things. A, Square doesn't have the internal resources, did not believe in this enough to do it internally, which is a huge fucking problem for me. This should be a game that is treated with all the respect and care that it deserves, not necessarily for me, but for the millions of people that are going to buy it, that want a Final Fantasy game from the Final Fantasy team. And I understand that they might not want to do that. And I understand that they might even, with so much loyalty on that Square team in terms of how long a lot of those people have been there, they might not want to work on that game. And I understand that there's a lot of logistics about that.
And at this point, do we want? Is that what the millions of people want? Do they want that from these people that have made these games that we don't want?
Well, a lot of the people that have made the games we don't want did make the games we do want. So I mean, I know
but
that's confusing. I know that's confusing.
You following all this?
But I'm talking about time has passed.
Sure.
You know, they are not doing that
But
anymore.
they're Final Fantasy 15izing a game that is about active battle system. Like, I was excited to see gameplay when they first started showing. I'm like, shit, it's gonna be awesome. I want to see how the camera turns. I want to see like what the enemy models look like. I want to see like
that's still there though.
It is, but and it is gonna have an active battle feel to it in terms of like it's not a pure action RPG. It's not Ys or something like that where you're running around hacking and slashing. It's clearly not that. It's
It
menu
looks
based.
fun.
But well, so Final Fantasy VII is fun.
No, I know totally, but here's my thing. It's like, okay, fine. So what we want is just a totally just up-res version of Final Fantasy VII that is like just looking this way, and it's like Final Fantasy 13 battle system style stuff where Lightning's just jumping around doing all this crazy fucking shit, and all you're doing is waiting your turn, X, waiting your turn, X.
I think what they're doubling
looks.
down on is when they released 15, that sort of look and the sort of the combat system of 15 appealed to people outside of Final Fantasy fans. I think that's what they're doubling down on. I think Final Fantasy VII is so beloved by Final Fantasy fans that they know that they have your money, they know that they have the money of the people out there, and now what they need to do is get a new generation of people to fall in love with Final Fantasy VII and care about it the same way that everybody in their, you know, late 20s, early 30s does. And the way you do that is you make it look like Final Fantasy 15, which a lot of people who don't like Final Fantasy went online and went like, oh, this is a Final Fantasy that I think looks interesting. I think I'll play this Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That's a huge amount of the gaming market that they just don't have right now.
Yeah, well, 13 lost a lot of people, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, I don't want to be too pessimistic about it because we really don't know what we're having yet. I'm just looking at all the tea leaves. The one major thing that Greg and I were talking about is Gamatsu put up a translated thing from Famitsu where they were talking about, yeah, CyberConnect is working on this game in some respect. And they had alluded to, and I don't know if it's the translation or what we're talking about, but they alluded to maybe even other teams working on it. And the one major thing that they
Secret
said...
teams you may not know.
Maybe not. Like
dark teams.
So I'm interpreting this as two things.
Code Black.
Like when you see Santa Monica's logo on a Sony game, they didn't make the game. They didn't work on the game. Unless it's a God of War game or Connecticut, they didn't make it. They produced it. And that's like, so everyone's like, well, they're just, CyberConnect's just contributing to it. And I'm like, I'm not so sure that's true. What it sounds like to me is that they're making it and Square is producing it. And we don't know if that's true or not. I do not know. That's how I read into it.
It feels true.
But the one thing that,
feels right.
Truthiness.
The one thing that really concerned me is I think it was Katase or someone over there was like, our vision, like he basically said, like our vision and CyberConnect's vision not the same.
That's why they recut the
And
trailer.
yeah,
right?
and I'm like, that's a huge fucking problem. You know, like why are you even letting a company that does not understand what you want make the game? So there's already all of these, and again, things are lost in translation from Japanese all the time. I've been covering Japanese games for a long time. We know that happens, but from what I was reading on Gamatsu, and you know that's a very reliable site for Japanese news, you know, translations and all that kind of stuff. I was reading, and I'm like, fuck, man, like. This doesn't, I want to be wrong about this because this is so important. This game is important. You know, Square has become a more Western-oriented company with, you know, Tomb Raider and Deus Ex and Hitman and all these games that they publish. They have lost a lot of their credibility with with the fans like me that have been playing their games for a very, very long time, for like 25 years. And really, when they were Squaresoft, when they made some of the best games of all time. And so they need us back. And I think that, to your point, that's maybe what they're aiming for. And Final Fantasy 15 looks great. We played it at PAX East, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm optimistic about that game. I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't believe it's going to come out next year, but we'll see. I'm just concerned about don't fuck with it too much.
Yeah.
Because that's not what anyone wants. I'm sorry, like I don't know any Final Fantasy VII fan that's like, I want you to remake Final Fantasy VII in a game that is unrecognizable.
But I mean, that's the thing. You're talking about like literally just the battle system. Like, because so far that looks very recognizable besides the battle system. And even then, it's not like it's drastically different. Like when you look at the areas, like there's so much side-by-side comparisons where it's like not just the scenarios they're in, but it's actually the environments where like they're fighting in that like the circle with the fountain, and it's like that's straight out of the pre-rendered background, but now it's an area you can explore.
Yeah.
And they're adding stuff. And in the original game, when Avalanche blows up an explosion, and then it just cuts to them after the explosion. Now it's them Lara Croft style going through the rubble and stuff. Like they're just gonna make it. They're just gonna add to the experience, and like to me, it's not unrecognizable.
I'll say this: by doing this, by saying that they're doing this, by committing to this, they are taking on what is probably going to be one of the hardest and most thankless jobs in the history of gaming.
No matter what.
Yeah, they were setting themselves up to lose.
No matter what, it'll never
do.
be as good as the original.
Yeah.
And there's a tricky thing about remaking something not as it was, but remaking it the way people remember it, which is a really scary thing to have to do, which is like, what gave you the feeling of Final Fantasy VII? What did you enjoy about it? And how do I make that enjoyable to you now? And it has to kind of be reinvented in a way, because that game is old, and that game is like, look, we have CDs, look, we have 3D graphics, look, we have video, and you can't double down on that. So what do you do? What do you change? How do you make it exciting?
I'm excited about it, because I look at it and it's like, this is Final Fantasy VII for like not what I remember of it, but just like the feelings of it. It's like, I know that the gameplay is different and stuff, but it's like, we'll see. It looks good to me.
As a non-Final Fantasy VII fan, somebody who's tried multiple times on multiple platforms to get into it and just doesn't work, I'm excited that it's different. Yeah. Like that does make me want to play it. That's the pro column of what's happening. Mm-hmm. The con column is the episodic structure being such a red flag for me. In the fact of, number one, I think it means that, this gets it out earlier. They get it out faster. Otherwise, you'd be waiting forever for this game. But then keep in mind that, like, how many times is, Square went out of their way to update the Final Fantasy 15 demo? You know what I mean? Like, what we're talking about right now is it's going to be under a fucking microscope. And I have a feeling every little thing that's said about it, they're going to think about, well, do we want to make episode 2 different? Do we want to change that? Yeah. Then do we go back and update episode 1? And like, what happens when it's going to get into this thing where it's going to be, here's episode 1, and then 6 months to a year, here's episode 2, then 18 months to, then 20. Like,
oh my
you're
God.
never going to. Where's the fucking finish of this game going to be?
But that's what's scary, because that goes back to what Colin was saying, is like, don't fiddle too much, because what you're doing is if you do that, if you're depending on all this feedback and the episodic structure to let you know what to do with this game,
you'll never get it.
Not only do you have design by committee, but you're basically doing like the Pontiac Aztec of gaming, right? Where everybody sits in a room, or the Homer, the Homer car, where it's just like, I want 8 horns, and I want this, and I want that, and it's just this design by committee where it's like, it will become nothing. They'll try to be everything to everyone, and it'll wind up being nothing to no one, because they just can't stop tweaking. Tweaking.
And this is the major concern, is just, I want to believe in this. I just think that there's so many problems. All right, CyberConnect's going to develop the game. They're a capable studio. They can handle the game. Let them make their game and just release it when it's done. Like the whole thing of like, the game's too big and all that. I'm like, Final Fantasy VII is not too big. I'm sorry. Like, I know Final Fantasy VII. It is not much bigger than its contemporaries, and it's definitely not bigger than the Western role-playing games that we're getting today. Yeah, but not even a little bit.
But to the level of detail that they're remaking this environment, if they were to go forward and do that with all those other areas, it is bigger. There's the amount of things you're doing in it is bigger. If you were to add all the voices to all of the lines of dialogue that they're having, like, it is.
Tim, it's big, but Final Fantasy VII is a big game, but it's not an enormous Japanese role-playing game compared to, like, it's just not. Like if they can voice Final Fantasy 15 the way they're doing it, and they can do all that kind of stuff, then they can certainly do it to Final Fantasy 7. I would even say that like, in some ways, a game like Final Fantasy 6 is in some plot ways just as dense, and I will say that
Yeah, but,
you know,
they're not remaking 6 this way.
But I was going to say that they're not remaking 6 this way, but there is a cautionary tale at 6. They just released the iOS and Android port of 6 on Steam, and people are finally realizing, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah.
You know,
that was a bad port.
Like, it's like, what did you do? And this was
that was the graphics. That's because they took the same game and just changed the graphics.
But they changed more than that. They changed, you know, some of the translation. They changed the UI, which is awful. Awful UI in the battle, like just looking at the screenshots. So it's just a cautionary tale of, you know, we want something exciting. I want them to tweak and tinker with things and tell the story that they want. A lot of those guys worked on Final Fantasy VII, and I'm sure that they want to go back and change some things that they wish they can change. But you do not want to like reinvent the wheel with this game. I think if they go too far in one direction, it's going to blow up in their faces. This is, you know.
I heard they're doing it so every character that lived dies, and every character that dies lives.
That is
this
an
time.
interesting
That would be an interesting game.
Like-
I just think that they're starting, you know, for a company that I really do believe has lost a lot of its credibility in some ways, with the exception of a few examples in the last few years with Japanese role playing game fans that were fans of them to begin with. I think that they recognize with Dragon Quest that they're going back to traditional Dragon Quest. They fucking made that perfectly clear after Dragon Quest X. Everyone was like, "Why the fuck are you making an MMO out of Dragon Quest?" They, you know, because they wanted to do what they did with Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV. That was a mistake. They're making a traditional game. They gave us our Musou with Omega Force and Tecmo Koei with Dragon Quest, and they're treating that series now with a lot of care again. And they've always treated that franchise with a lot of care. That franchise to them is actually, I think, even more important than Final Fantasy, especially in their home country. And so I think they're starting to learn similar lessons with Final Fantasy 15. Reinvent, but don't reinvent too much, and make something that fans are going to want. This is something, for this to be a game that's going to resonate with people, it does have to find a new audience, to Anthony's point, but it also has to resonate with the people that loved it to begin with, or it is not going to have the resonance they don't. Man. And the episodic thing is a huge red flag, and we should be very concerned about it. If they give us like the first 10 hours of the game and we have to wait 2 years for the next one, and I would not put that past them, you know, that's an issue for sure. But again, it's all conjecture. Yep. I want more information. I need more information. I need Square in the West to
get Square on the phone.
No, I need Square. Square needs to talk.
Yeah, but you know, like I'm happy they're talking. Like the fact that we're hearing this, the fact that they showed the goddamn battle system, that's a statement. That's them saying, I know you guys are talking. Is it going to be active time battle? No, it's not. It's not. Here it is, you know? And they're talking, it's going to be in parts. We're putting that out there. So it's like, I'm shocked we're hearing this much, because I thought it was going to be not until TGS next year we might see something. So at least this means things are happening. And again, I want to make this really clear. I am being very optimistic about this.
And I'm being very pessimistic about it. So
I want this to be good. I want this to be all these things.
I don't care.
I know they're gonna fuck it up.
I'm a little hungry.
I really,
hungry about it.
This is one of those announcements that I've waited for forever, and I want to just believe that I'm gonna get something. And so it's like I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm gonna look at the good in this, because there's a lot of good. There's a lot of things they're doing right that's making me real happy that I thought they'd fuck up.
I mean, yeah. Right now we have 2 minutes, choppy, clip. And all we can do is be glass half empty or glass half full about it, you know. And
I'm definitely glass half empty about it. But I want to make clear that this is one of those things that I'm like, it's like my Uncharted 4 delay prediction. Like, I hope I'm totally wrong. I hope I'm fucking cool. I hope they.
Well, Nate got caught up in a lot of paperwork, is why they had to delay.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like this is not something I wish. I want this game to fucking kill. I want this game. It's the same thing with Final Fantasy 15. I hope Final Fantasy 15 blows us away, because we need it.
Yeah.
God, was Final Fantasy 13 a disappointment. I want us to get exactly what we need from these guys. They can capture their mojo again and become the Square and Square Enix that we know and love, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, going back to what you're talking about it not being that big or it being big or whatever, it's like Final Fantasy 13, everyone made fun of it for being just a hallway. And there was no towns, you know? And that was the thing. It was a big game, but it's all just straight. And then like the open areas, just
40 hours in.
These huge fucking plains, you know what I mean? Of just like, just
boring.
nothing in it and boring. And 15, I mean, again, just looking at what it is, it looks like that. So that's why 7 to me, I'm like, I think it was that big, because 7 is towns. Towns.
7's big. I mean, 7's a big game. My whole argument though is that it is not like that's not a valid excuse to me. Like, you know, it's not like no one played Final Fantasy VII in 1997. I remember buying it. I bought my PS1 for it. I remember, and I remember playing it and being obsessed with a lot of role playing games on PS1. It was a great machine for them, just like the SNES was. And I didn't walk away from Final Fantasy VII being like, I walked away from it being, what a great game. That was a great game, very memorable game. I didn't walk away from it being like, wow, that was fucking way bigger than every other game.
Well, I know, but games aren't like that.
But we get big games all the time, man. Like, if you want to go back to like an Uncharted or a Tomb Raider or something like that, we get games with giant environments. Just that Nathan Drake is hanging on a string, you know, like trying not to die in that E3 demo. And like that's huge. It's like miles of land that they're making. Like games are huge.
Yeah.
And if you're just saying like, hey, we have to release it in an episode because games are big.
That's what they're saying, right? I mean, that's what they're saying.
I see what Colin's saying, where it's like that just doesn't ring true to me.
But I'm talking about the level. It's like when big. Were you getting into the weeds about the meaning of big? Because I'm saying 13 was big. 13 had these big planes. Modern role-playing games now have these big areas.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII has detailed areas.
It has dense towns, like it does. It has dense environments, but it has a lot of like empty space on that map too. Like I just don't think it's.
I'm just saying when you
You
look
can't
at
just
the
be like it's
comparison
episodic
pictures-
because it's big. I think it's episodic because we're Square, because we take a super long time to do things, because we don't really have a strategy for this yet. I think there are actual nuts and bolts reasons for why this is episodic other than it's big.
No,
I
for
think
sure.
it's big is a fine reason, but it's not the whole picture.
And I'm totally with that. And that's me being optimistic about this. I look at this, I'm like, all right, they're learning from Final Fantasy 15. They're learning from not being able to fucking go back and change shit. I'm hoping. This is not true, but I'm hoping. And they're like, we need to just do the episode Deuce shit of just Final Fantasy 7 part 1, part 2, part up to 7. Who gives a shit? Just like, this needs to be reliable, and we need to just put it out and move on.
The one thing I will say as we close this out is this topic out is I'm not convinced this is going to come out as an episodic release. Like I think they're going to see the feedback and be like, we can't do this. Like we can't. I haven't seen one person think this is like, until we're talking now. And I don't think you even think it's a good idea.
I think you're devil's advocating it. I think
I
you would rather have it
haven't
all at
seen
once.
I mean,
one
I'm talking
person
about
say this is a
personally
good
for the
idea.
way I play games. I'm totally down for this.
Yeah.
I'm totally down to get Final Fantasy 7. My biggest problem is the having to wait between releases thing.
Oh my God,
Like if
dude.
they're
And
if
you
they
will
give
wait
me,
forever.
But if they give me a calendar where it's like you'll get 10-hour experiences every 6 months, I know that's not going to happen. But I'm like, I'm down for that. That sounds cool to me.
You will
Keep me
bequeath
excited. It's like
Your
Smash Bros.
GameStop pre-order for Final Fantasy VII Episode
Grandson,
96 to
you
your
need to do
grandson.
this.
Yeah, I think
I put $5 down.
it's one of those things where
2015, and all this is yours.
I think it's one of those things where I don't think there's a good chance, but I think there's a chance that they're going to go back and be like, we can't. Like they're probably talking about it now. They're being like, man, this is a big deal, and it's not, and people are not happy about this, and maybe we should just disappear for a little while and like just finish it and release it when it's ready.
Disappear, bro. Just the entire Square office is empty
the
tomorrow.
fuck is
Like
going
they all
on?
disappeared. Like,
It's like that Julianne Moore movie. They
Yeah.
peel the wallpaper back and there's like a Square logo.
Square was never here.
they need to learn more lessons. If Final Fantasy 15 comes out next year, which it's apparently going to, that game was announced 10 years before it came out. Kingdom Hearts 3, God knows when you're going to see that fucking game. So
Goofy says this year.
he said that. Yeah. So it's just they need to just learn that it's just like don't announce your games too early, or just announce them and disappear for a little while. I mean, it's the way we used to do things. I don't think we should do them anymore like that. I think we should announce games way closer to launch.
Bless
But
you.
I understand. Bless you. I understand when people are excited, but there's so many red flags, and it goes back to that comment I saw on NeoGAF. I'm like, yeah, too good to be true, you know. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully